Struggling single mom buys formula with quarters. The CEO behind her whispers, "Put it on my card." Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get back to the story. As the days passed, the memory of the strange encounter at the store lingered in her mind. Emma, the single mother, couldn't help but think about the man who had so casually paid for her formula. His kindness had left a lasting impression on her, and despite her usual skepticism, she found herself wondering about his intentions. She didn't expect to see him again, yet she couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted in her life. She had been struggling for so long, constantly fighting just to keep things afloat. Every penny counted, and she had learned to live without luxuries, focusing only on what was necessary for her son's well-being. But that day, that simple gesture, had been a reminder that kindness still existed, even in a world that often felt so cold. It was a bright spot in her otherwise gray world. A few days later, Emma received an unexpected phone call. It was from the charity event she had been invited to, the one that had been mentioned in passing at the store. She had almost forgotten about it, but now it was time. The invitation was from the same man who had paid for her formula. He was one of the hosts of the event, and he had specifically requested her presence. She wasn't sure why, but the thought of attending made her nervous. She hadn't been to a fancy event in years, and she didn't exactly fit in with the wealthy crowd she imagined would be there. Still, something inside her urged her to go. Maybe this could be an opportunity to change her circumstances. With a deep breath, she agreed to attend, unsure of what to expect. On the night of the event, Emma found herself standing outside a large, elegant hotel. The lights shone brightly, casting long shadows on the sidewalk. She wore a simple, yet elegant dress she had bought on sale months ago, her shoes slightly scuffed from daily use. She felt out of place, but she forced herself to walk inside, where a dazzling array of people mingled in evening wear. Her heart raced, and she tried to blend into the background, not wanting to draw attention to herself. She found the bar and ordered a simple drink, trying to steady her nerves. But just as she was about to take a sip, she heard a voice behind her. Emma stood there in stunned silence as his words sank in, the weight of his offer pressing down on her chest. She had never expected something like this, and yet here it was, right in front of her. A chance to change everything. A chance to give her son a better life. But the fear of trusting someone she barely knew held her back. She had always relied on herself, always been the one to make things work, no matter how hard it was. But what if this time, just maybe, she could accept help without losing herself in the process? The CEO, whose name she had learned was Ethan, seemed to sense her hesitation. He gave her a moment, his gaze gentle, understanding. "I know it's a lot to ask," he said quietly, "and I don't expect you to make a decision right now. But think about it. I can help you, Emma. You don't have to do it all alone anymore." She could feel her heart racing in her chest, her thoughts a blur as she tried to process everything. The old habits of self-reliance tugged at her, reminding her that asking for help meant losing some control over her life. But the idea of finally having some support, of finally being able to breathe again, was tempting. After a long pause, she took a deep breath and looked up at him. "I don't know what to say," she admitted, her voice trembling slightly. "This is all so overwhelming." Ethan nodded, his expression softening even more. "I understand. And you don't have to decide anything right now. Take your time. But I want you to know that I'm here to help, whether it's with a job, with your bills, or even just advice. You don't have to keep struggling like this." His words were sincere. And for the first time in a long while, Emma allowed herself to believe that someone might actually care enough to help her. But the fear of disappointment still lingered. She had trusted people before, only to be let down. Still, the hope that his offer could lead to a real change in her life was hard to ignore. "Thank you," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I'll think about it." Ethan smiled, a small, reassuring smile that made her feel like maybe, just maybe, everything could be okay. That's all I ask. Just know that the offer is there, whenever you're ready." The conversation shifted after that, the weight of the moment still hanging in the air between them as they mingled with the other guests. Emma tried to keep up with the flow of the evening, but her mind kept wandering back to Ethan and his offer. Could she really trust him? Could she really allow herself to take that first step toward a better life, knowing that it meant letting someone else into her world? It wasn't easy to admit, but Emma knew she couldn't keep going the way she had been. She had tried for so long, and yet nothing seemed to change. Maybe this was the sign she had been waiting for. As the evening wore on, Emma found herself at the edge of the crowd, watching as Ethan interacted with others. He was charismatic, confident, and yet there was a warmth to him that made him seem approachable. He wasn't like the other wealthy people she had encountered in her life, people who saw her as just another struggling single mother. Ethan saw her as someone worth helping, and that realization was both humbling and terrifying. As the event came to an end, Ethan found her once again, offering a final word of encouragement. "I hope you'll consider what we talked about," he said, his voice low and sincere. "And if you need anything, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm serious, Emma. You don't have to face everything on your own." Emma nodded, her heart swelling with a mix of gratitude and uncertainty. She wasn't sure where this path would lead, but for the first time in a long while, she felt like there was a glimmer of hope. She knew it wouldn't be easy to accept help, but maybe, just maybe, this was the beginning of something new. As she left the event that night, her thoughts were a whirlwind, but there was a sense of possibility in the air. She wasn't sure if she was ready to take the leap, but for the first time in a long time, she allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, she was worthy of a better life. The following week, Emma found herself in a situation she had never imagined. She sat at her small kitchen table, the same worn notebook in front of her. But today she wasn't trying to make sense of overdue bills or budgets she couldn't meet. Today, she was writing down the things she wanted for herself and her son. Her pencil moved slowly across the page as she carefully wrote, "A stable job, a better life, a chance to breathe again." She paused for a moment, her mind drifting back to Ethan's offer. It was still fresh in her mind, the sincerity in his eyes as he spoke about changing her life. But was she really ready to take that step? Could she trust him? Could she trust herself enough to let go of the constant need to struggle and finally accept help? She knew she couldn't do it alone forever, but the fear of failure held her back. She had spent so many years trying to make everything work on her own. But what if she couldn't live up to his expectations? What if accepting his help would make her feel weak? She shook her head, trying to clear her thoughts. Just then, her phone buzzed. She hesitated before picking it up, her heart racing as she saw Ethan's name appear on the screen. Taking a deep breath, she answered. It had been 2 weeks since Emma had made the decision to accept Ethan's offer, and already, things were beginning to change. She had started working at the foundation, taking on a role that allowed her to help others in a way she never imagined. The work wasn't easy, but it gave her a sense of purpose, something she hadn't felt in a long time. Her days were filled with meetings, planning, and organizing events that would provide assistance to struggling families like hers. It wasn't glamorous work, but it was meaningful. And the best part? She was no longer fighting alone. Ethan's presence in her life had become a steady, reassuring force. He checked in with her regularly, not just to see how the projects were going, but to make sure she was doing okay. She had always been used to doing everything on her own, but now, for the first time, she felt like someone had her back. One morning, as she sat at her desk going through some paperwork, Ethan called her. "Hey, Emma. I was wondering if you'd like to join me for lunch today. I have something I want to discuss with you." His voice was calm, but there was an edge of excitement to it. Emma felt a flutter of nerves in her stomach. She had grown comfortable with Ethan, but their relationship still felt new and a little overwhelming. "Lunch? Sure," she replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "I'll meet you at the usual place?" "Sounds good. I'll see you soon." When Emma arrived at the cafe, Ethan was already there, sitting at a table by the window. As she walked in, he stood up and greeted her with a warm smile. She couldn't help but notice how confident he looked, how at ease he was in his surroundings. She had never imagined she'd be sitting across from someone like him, someone who seemed to have everything together while she was just trying to hold it all together. "Hey, how's everything going?" Ethan asked as she sat down. It's going well, Emma replied, feeling a small surge of pride. I'm starting to feel like I'm making a difference. I knew you would, he said, his eyes glowing with genuine admiration. You've got something special, Emma, and I'm glad to see you beginning to realize that. She smiled, her heart warming at his words. She wasn't used to receiving compliments, especially not ones that made her feel seen for who she truly was, rather than just the sum of her struggles. But Ethan had a way of making her believe in herself, something no one else had done before. After a few moments of small talk, Ethan's expression grew a little more serious. I've been thinking, he began, about how far you've come, and I want to offer you more than just a job at the foundation. I think it's time for you to take on a bigger role, something that's going to push you to grow even more. Emma's brow furrowed slightly, unsure of where this conversation was headed. What do you mean? I'm offering you a chance to take on a leadership role in the foundation. You'll be working directly with some of our biggest donors, organizing major events, and helping shape the future of the foundation. I believe you're ready for this. Her mind raced. A leadership role? She had never considered herself a leader. She had always been the one following behind, doing the work that needed to be done, but never stepping into the spotlight. But the thought of truly taking charge, of making a difference on a larger scale, was both exhilarating and terrifying. I don't know, Ethan, she said, her voice hesitant. I've never done something like this before. What if I fail? Ethan leaned forward, his gaze steady and reassuring. You won't fail, Emma. I believe in you. And I know this is a big step, but I also know you're capable of so much more than you realize. This is an opportunity for you to shine, to show yourself what you're truly capable of. And I'll be here to support you every step of the way. Emma's heart raced as she thought about the offer. The fear of stepping into the unknown was overwhelming, but at the same time, she couldn't ignore the sense of possibility that this role represented. She had spent so long struggling, so long just getting by, but now, she had the chance to do something more, something bigger than herself. I'll do it, she said, the words escaping her lips before she even fully understood the decision she had made. I'll take the role. Ethan's face lit up with a proud smile, and for the first time in a long while, Emma felt a sense of excitement rather than fear. She wasn't just taking on a new job, she was stepping into a new life, one where she could finally believe in her own potential. As they finished lunch and said their goodbyes, Emma felt a weight lift off her shoulders. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She was starting to thrive. And it was all because she had allowed herself to believe in the possibility of something better. The journey ahead would be challenging, but for the first time in a long time, she felt ready for whatever came next. The following weeks were a whirlwind for Emma. She dove headfirst into her new role at the foundation, taking on more responsibility than she had ever thought possible. Her days were filled with meetings, events, and managing the various initiatives that would help families in need. It was exhausting, but for the first time in a long while, she felt alive with purpose. She wasn't just surviving anymore, she was truly making a difference. Despite the challenges, she found herself growing into the role, learning new skills, and gaining confidence with every passing day. The fear she had felt at the beginning slowly faded as she saw the impact of her work, and her colleagues began to recognize her dedication and leadership. But there was one thing that still weighed on her heart. As much as she had embraced her new life, there was something missing. The relationship between her and Ethan had grown steadily, but Emma couldn't shake the feeling that she was still holding back, unsure of where they stood. Ethan had been nothing but supportive, always there to encourage her, but she wasn't sure if his intentions went beyond that of a mentor. She knew she had feelings for him, but she didn't want to risk complicating things, especially when everything in her life had finally started falling into place. One evening, after a long day at the office, Ethan called her again. This time, his voice was a little different. There was an urgency to it that caught her attention. Emma, I need to talk to you about something. Can you meet me tomorrow? Her stomach fluttered. Of course, she replied, trying to keep her voice steady. Is everything okay? It's fine, Ethan said, but she could hear the tension in his voice. I just need to talk to you in person. Let's meet for lunch tomorrow. The next day, Emma arrived at the cafe a little earlier than usual. She wasn't sure what to expect, but the unease in her stomach told her that whatever Ethan wanted to talk about, it was serious. When Ethan arrived, His usual calm demeanor was replaced with a hint of nervousness that made Emma's heart race. "Hey," she said, giving him a small smile. "What's going on?" Ethan looked at her for a moment, his eyes searching hers as if trying to find the right words. He took a deep breath before speaking. "Emma, I've been thinking a lot about everything lately about us, about the future, and I need to be honest with you." Her heart skipped a beat. "Honest about what?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Ethan took a long pause, clearly struggling with how to express what he was feeling. Finally, he spoke, his voice low but steady. "I care about you, Emma, more than just as someone I'm helping with the foundation. I've tried to keep it professional, but I can't ignore how I feel anymore. I've developed feelings for you, and I need you to know that." Emma froze. The world around her seemed to slow down as his words sank in. She had suspected something like this, but hearing it out loud made her heart race. She had been so focused on her work, on rebuilding her life, that she hadn't allowed herself to consider the possibility of a relationship, especially with Ethan. She looked at him, unsure of what to say. "Ethan, I don't know what to say. I've been so focused on this new chapter in my life that I haven't really thought about us. I didn't want to complicate things. You've already helped me so much, and I don't want to mess things up." Ethan reached across the table, gently placing his hand on hers. His touch was warm and reassuring. "You don't have to have all the answers right now, Emma. I just wanted you to know how I feel. I'm not asking for anything in return. I just wanted you to understand that I'm here for you, in every way that you need." Emma's mind was spinning, but there was something in Ethan's eyes that told her he was sincere. He wasn't asking for anything. He simply wanted to be honest with her. And for the first time in a long while, she allowed herself to think about the possibility of a future one where she wasn't doing everything alone. "I don't know what this means for us yet," she said slowly, "but I appreciate your honesty, and I'm glad you told me. I need some time to think about it, but I'm not saying no." Ethan smiled, a soft, understanding smile that made her heart flutter. "Take all the time you need, Emma. I'm not going anywhere." As they finished their lunch, Emma felt a sense of calm wash over her. She didn't have all the answers, and she didn't know what the future held. But for the first time in a long while, she felt like she wasn't alone. Ethan's feelings, though unexpected, had opened a door she had kept tightly shut for so long. She didn't know where this would lead. But one thing was clear: her life was changing in ways she had never imagined. And maybe, just maybe, that included love. The following days after their conversation were filled with uncertainty for Emma. She couldn't stop thinking about Ethan's confession. His words echoed in her mind, replaying over and over again, making her heart race each time. She had spent years keeping her heart locked away, focusing only on survival, and now, for the first time, she was confronted with the possibility of something more. Something that could change everything. But she wasn't sure if she was ready. There was a fear deep within her. A fear that letting someone in could lead to more disappointment, more heartbreak. She had been burned before, and the thought of putting herself out there again felt overwhelming. But Ethan wasn't like the others. He had been nothing but supportive, patient, and understanding. He had never pushed her, never expected anything in return for his kindness, and that was something she had never experienced. The weight of her decision pressed heavily on her. As she sat in her small apartment one evening, her son playing quietly in the background, Emma found herself staring at the phone in her hand. She had been avoiding calling Ethan, unsure of what to say, unsure if she was ready to open herself up to him. But the more she thought about it, the more she realized that the only thing holding her back was fear. Fear of change, fear of the unknown. Taking a deep breath, she finally dialed his number. Her hands were shaking slightly, but she pressed on, bringing the phone to her ear. "Hello?" Ethan's voice came through, warm and reassuring, just like always. "Hey, Ethan," Emma said, her voice shaky. "It's me." "Hey, Emma, how's it going?" he asked, his tone light but full of concern. "I've been thinking—" Emma started, her words slow as she tried to find the right way to say what she was feeling. "About what you said. About us. About us." There was a brief silence on the other end of the line, and for a moment, Emma thought she had said the wrong thing. But then, Ethan spoke softly. "I'm glad you're thinking about it," he said. "Take all the time you need, Emma. I'm not going anywhere." "I know," she replied, her voice thick with emotion. "And I don't want to keep running away from this. From you." Ethan's breath caught for a moment, and Emma could almost hear the smile in his voice when he spoke again. "I'm not going anywhere either," he said, the sincerity in his words making Emma's heart flutter. "Whenever you're ready, I'll be here." For the first time in a long while, Emma allowed herself to feel something she hadn't let herself feel in years. Hope. She had spent so long fighting, so long pushing everything and everyone away to protect herself. But now, for the first time, she was letting someone in. And it felt right. The next few days were a blur, as Emma continued to focus on her work at the foundation. But now, with a new sense of clarity. She wasn't just surviving. She was building a future for herself and her son. And Ethan's presence in her life, however complicated it felt at times, had become a source of support and stability. He didn't push her. He simply encouraged her to be the best version of herself, and that made all the difference. One evening, as she sat at her desk, going over some files for an upcoming charity event, Emma received a message from Ethan. It was simple. "Dinner tonight?" Her heart skipped a beat. She hadn't expected him to ask her out again. But now, she realized, she was actually looking forward to it. "Yes," she typed back, her fingers trembling slightly as she hit send. "I'd like that." That night, as they sat across from each other at a small, cozy restaurant, Emma couldn't help but feel the connection between them growing stronger. Ethan wasn't just a mentor or a benefactor. He was someone she could see herself with, someone who made her feel valued and understood. As they talked over dinner, Emma felt her walls slowly starting to come down. She was no longer afraid of the unknown, of what the future might hold. For the first time in years, she was allowing herself to just be, to enjoy the moment without worrying about what came next. As they finished their meal and stood to leave, Ethan took her hand in his, a simple gesture that sent a surge of warmth through Emma's chest. "Thank you for taking the time to be here with me," he said, his voice low but full of meaning. "I really enjoy spending time with you, Emma." Emma smiled, her heart beating a little faster. "Me too," she whispered. "I think this is just the beginning, isn't it?" Ethan's smile grew, and for the first time, Emma allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, this was the start of something beautiful. Something that could change her life in ways she had never imagined. The weeks that followed were filled with a sense of anticipation and excitement for Emma. She had begun to settle into her new life, balancing her work at the foundation with her growing relationship with Ethan. Every day felt like a new beginning, and for the first time in a long while, she wasn't just surviving, she was thriving. Her son, Jacob, was doing better too. He could see the change in his mother, the way her eyes sparkled with hope instead of the tired, weary look she used to have. Emma had more energy now, more patience, and she was able to give him the attention he deserved without feeling the weight of the world pressing down on her shoulders. Ethan continued to be a steady presence in her life, always supportive, always encouraging her to push forward. They spent time together outside of work, getting to know each other better, sharing their thoughts and dreams. It wasn't just about romance. It was about a connection that ran deeper, built on mutual respect and understanding. Emma had never imagined that someone could be so patient, so kind, and yet so driven at the same time. Ethan wasn't just a mentor anymore. He was someone she could rely on, someone she wanted to build a future with. But there was still a part of her that hesitated. She had been hurt before, and the idea of trusting someone completely, of opening herself up to the possibility of love, was still a little daunting. One evening, as they sat on the balcony of his apartment overlooking the city, Emma finally let herself express what had been weighing on her heart. "Ethan, I have to admit something," she began, her voice soft. "I've been so afraid of letting myself get too close to you. I've never really had someone in my life who cared for me the way you do, and it scares me." Ethan turned to her, his expression gentle, and placed a reassuring hand on hers. "I understand, Emma. I'm not rushing you into anything. I just want you to know that I'm here for you, no matter what. You've already done so much for yourself, for Jacob, and I'm proud of everything you've accomplished. But I'm not going anywhere. I want to be here with you for the long run, whenever you're ready." Emma looked out at the city, the lights twinkling below, and let his words sink in. She had spent so much of her life carrying the burden of everything alone, but now, for the first time, she realized she didn't have to. She had someone who was willing to stand by her, to support her in ways she had never imagined. Taking a deep breath, she turned back to him and smiled. "I think I'm ready, Ethan. I'm ready to let go of the fear and take the next step with you." His eyes lit up, and he gently cupped her face in his hands, kissing her softly on the forehead. "You don't know how much that means to me, Emma. We'll take it slow, I promise. There's no rush. I just want to be with you, and I'm here for whatever comes next." As the days turned into weeks, their bond only grew stronger. They continued to build a life together, both professionally and personally. Ethan had been right all along. Emma wasn't alone anymore. She had support, love, and the strength to face whatever challenges came her way. And for the first time, she truly believed in herself. She was no longer defined by her past struggles, but by the woman she had become, and the future she was now building for herself and her son. One evening, as they sat at a quiet dinner, Ethan reached across the table and took her hand. "I've been thinking," he said, his voice filled with warmth. "We've come a long way, and I just want you to know that I'm not just in this for the short term. I'm here for the long haul, Emma. I want you to be a part of my life, in every way. You and Jacob are everything to me." Emma felt her heart swell with emotion, and for the first time, she allowed herself to imagine a future with him, a future where they built something beautiful together, where they supported each other through life's ups and downs. She knew there would be challenges ahead, but with Ethan by her side, she was no longer afraid. "I feel the same way," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "I never thought I could have something like this, but I'm so glad I have you in my life. We've both been through so much, and now we have the chance to build something incredible together." Ethan smiled, his eyes filled with love. "We already are, Emma. We already are." And in that moment, surrounded by the soft glow of candlelight and the warmth of their shared connection, Emma knew that her life had changed forever. She wasn't just surviving anymore, she was living, loving, and looking forward to a future filled with hope, possibility, and the love of the man who had never given up on her. Months passed, and Emma's life continued to transform in ways she never thought possible. She was no longer just a single mother struggling to make ends meet. She had become a confident woman, a professional who was making a difference in the lives of others. Her work at the foundation flourished, and her relationship with Ethan grew stronger with each passing day. They were not only partners in life but also in their shared vision of helping others, and their bond deepened as they worked together to create lasting change. Emma had never imagined that she would find someone who believed in her so wholeheartedly, someone who would not only lift her up but also encourage her to be the best version of herself. Ethan had become her rock, and her heart swelled with love for him. As the days passed, they spent more time together, balancing their busy lives while still making time for the quiet, intimate moments that meant the most to both of them. One evening, as they sat on the porch of their home, watching the sunset and listening to the sounds of the world settling into the evening, Ethan turned to her with a look in his eyes that made Emma's heart skip a beat. "Emma, I've been thinking about everything we've been through, everything we've built together, and I just want to say how incredibly proud I am of you," he said softly, his voice filled with warmth. "You've come so far, and I've never been more certain of anything in my life than I am about us." Emma's breath caught in her throat. She knew Ethan had always supported her, but there was something about his words that touched her in a way she hadn't expected. She had spent so long doubting herself, afraid to believe that she deserved happiness. But now, in this moment, she realized how much she had changed. She had built a life, a future, with the man who saw her as more than just a struggling single mother. He saw her as a strong, capable woman, and he had loved her through it all. "I don't even know how to begin to thank you," Emma said, her voice trembling with emotion. "You've changed my life, Ethan. I didn't think I could ever have something like this, something real, something lasting." Ethan smiled, his eyes soft with affection. "You already had everything inside you, Emma. All I did was help you see it. You've always had the strength, the love, the courage. You just needed to let yourself believe in it. And I'll always be here, supporting you, no matter where life takes us." Emma felt tears welling up in her eyes, but this time they were tears of joy. She had never felt so seen, so understood, so loved. She had built a life she was proud of, and she had done it with Ethan by her side. The months continued to pass, and their relationship flourished. Emma and Ethan grew together, facing challenges and celebrating victories. The foundation's work grew more successful, and they both continued to touch the lives of so many people who had been where Emma once was. They had created a legacy, one built on love, hope, and the belief that change was possible. But more than that, they had built a family, Emma, Ethan, and Jacob, bound not just by love but by the shared dream of creating a better world. One evening, as they sat together in their living room, Ethan turned to Emma with a look of determination in his eyes. "Emma, I've been thinking about something," he said, his voice steady. "I want to spend the rest of my life with you. I want to build a future, a family, and a life that's filled with love and purpose." Emma's heart raced as she looked at him, unsure of what he meant. "What are you saying, Ethan?" "I'm saying," he began, his voice full of emotion, "that I want you to be my partner, my equal, in every way. I want to marry you. I want to spend every day of my life with you, building the future we've always dreamed of." Emma's breath caught in her throat as tears filled her eyes. She had never imagined a moment like this, and yet here it was, her future, her dream, unfolding in front of her. "Yes," she whispered, her voice barely audible but full of certainty. "Yes, Ethan, I want that too." And in that moment, with the love of her life by her side, Emma knew that the journey she had begun all those years ago, when she was just a struggling single mother, had led her to something far greater than she ever could have imagined. She had found love, purpose, and family. And as she looked ahead, she knew that whatever came next, they would face it together, stronger than ever.